Hello, everyone, and welcome to our executive interview webinar today. We are so thrilled to have you and also our speaker today, Cris Kimbrough with SKBM Smart Technology. She is joining us today to discuss some questions that a lot of us have about smart tech, and we're also going to be learning a little bit about Cris along the way. And she actually has a ton of experience in multifamily, and not just multifamily, but working for some of the biggest players in multifamily and helping them implement technology. She is really always at the forefront of emerging technologies, and we could all learn a thing or two from Cris and learning how she went through some of those processes. She's worked with Greystar, she's worked with CBRE, and now she works with SKBM Technology, which is just a fantastic company that offers many, many different smart tech solutions. I think one thing that I've picked up from you, Cris, since I've met you is that you provide a really consultative approach. You're very much, let's have a consult, let's figure out what's a good option for you. Because, not all options are the best for everyone. Tech is great, but there are definitely some nuances, and you've pretty much seen it all. So that's why we wanted to bring you on and talk to you a little bit. So thank you so much for coming and talking to us, Cris. We really appreciate you being here.
I am so excited about this. Thank you so much, Alexandra.
Yeah. So I'd love to hear from you how you got started in multifamily.
Sure. So actually, I was working for CBRE several years ago, and I co-founded a practice for them called Building Technology Consultancy. We worked across verticals. So we consulted with, logistics and supply, so like warehouses, and we consulted with commercial office space and retail and multifamily as well. And so the way I got into when I really got into multifamily was we were hired by a very large owner operator to do technology strategy for their entire portfolio, and about half was commercial office and about half was multifamily. So it was a long project, but I learned a tremendous amount. Working with this owner operator, and then COVID happened, things happened. And I found my way to Greystar, and I was senior director of smart building technology for them. So I focused on smart home, bulk and managed Wi-Fi, and access controls. And so got the fabulous opportunity working with Greystar to really work with a lot of clients, to really work with a lot of suppliers, and develop a lot of relationships in the technology space for multifamily, and really enjoyed my time there. So it was just a really valuable learning experience. So you'll see me around. I will be at Apartmentalize. I'm I'm out there.
Yes, you are. You're always on the road, it seems, that you're going to different shows, meeting a lot of these, housing providers. But SKBM Tech, which is now the company that you work for,
Yep.
they don't just focus with the big gray stars, right?
No.
They have a lot of solutions. So tell me a little bit more about SKBM and what you do there.
Sure thing. So I'm a chief strategy officer with SKBM. And so they really brought me in. So SKBM Smart Technology has installed over 450,000 units of smart home.
Wow.
It's all our own crews. We're not a call center, so we're not going to send some local person that's never installed smart home. It's what Scott Keen and Bill Myers are the SKBM and SKBM. What Scott and Bill have built is, just unparalleled in the multifamily space in terms of installs. We have rebranded as a one-stop prop tech shop for multifamily. So I was brought in to create strategic partnerships with suppliers in the space. And I won't, not just anyone, right? Like, I know these solutions, I've used them, I've talked to people about them. So they brought me in to put these strategic partnerships in place so that we can curate a solution. It's like you were saying earlier, like, smart tech is not one size fits all. We don't talk about a solution. We talk about like a group of solutions that we can integrate for you to get to solve for your problems, right? And to meet your, you know, we talk about things like investment strategy, how long are you going to hold it? Really try to understand the larger real estate goals that you're trying to accomplish. As and so it is. So we have strategic partnerships in place, and the middle market is actually where we focus. I mean, of course, Greystar comes to me up. I'm not going to say no, but like the middle market is really where we focus, because I think, I was just at a show last week focused on middle market, and the message I got from people was like, hey, we're too small, nobody will talk to us, or we're self-managing, and I've installed a bunch of tech. I'm pulling my hair out trying to self-manage. I've installed a bunch of tech that's supposed to help me, and it's not helping me. It's not working. So like one of the things that I've really tried to do is put those technology supplier partnerships in place that allow us to like meet budget, meet your specific goals, and we're not transactional. We're a technology partner. So, I talk a lot about technology strategy, and I've been doing that for years, because you really do have to think ahead. And you all know this, like you have to do, you're doing your capital planning every year. Budget season's not that long away, not that far away. So, you know, there's and the markets are hard right now, so like maybe there's technologies that just aren't going to happen this year, and that's fine. But like we want to come in and help you and have that consultative discussion and say, okay, well, what are the immediate needs? What can we help you solve for? What's your budget? Let's work on that. And then let's talk about what you want to do next year or in 2026. Let's get you where you need to be, without blowing your entire budget right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's really important, right? So, yeah, it'd be great to have XYZ smart tech solution, but if it doesn't make sense for you and your investment goals, then should you really be getting that right now? Maybe
Yeah.
that's a bridge you're going to cross later. So something that, Chris and I talked about before this call was asking you all a quick question about if you feel you're getting a good value from your smart tech investment. We're curious to see those of you on the call today if you are using smart tech at all. And if you are, what of that smart tech is a good value for you, because I think that's what you're finding, Chris, is that some people don't find the value in after they install it. So I know that's one of the challenges they might face. So SKBM offers, smart access control, EV charging stations, security camera installs. You have a bunch of different options. How do you kind of determine which option is a good one for clients to go with?
Well, it's really asking a lot of questions and having that discussion, because there is no one size fits all. Each of the owners and operators on this call are different. They have different goals. Each property probably that they're dealing with, unless they're dealing with like a portfolio that they've got like a brand strategy on, each property is going to be a little bit different, right? And so you've really got to have that conversation on the front end about what use cases you're trying to enable. And so that then I can look at my ecosystem of suppliers and say, you know what? And all my suppliers know this, that we are vendor agnostic, and we're going to put the right solution in the right place.
Mm.
So they all know that if they're selling solution X, and I've got an owner that comes to me and says, I need this, but I don't have that kind of budget, that I'm not going to recommend you spend that money. Or, it's really about having a good technology partner and talking through what your needs are, and really, understanding that, and also like, I think it's probably a later question, Alexandra, but like the other thing is like, you've got to get buy-in from the community managers and from the asset managers. Like everybody has to be on board with using the technology and actually use it.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. I think one of the questions that I had for you was, what are some of those common mistakes and pitfalls that landlords make when they do implement that new piece of technology? And it seems like one of them, as you mentioned, is not having everyone on board with the
Yeah, that's a
tech.
huge problem. And I
Mhm.
mean, the other thing is, industry right now, you're turning 40%, 40 to 50% of property staff every year. If you're not working with a technology partner that's going to provide the ongoing support for not just your tenants, but for the property team, and so you've got a new community manager, a new leasing agent. Like you need that ongoing training in order to make sure, and you've really got to explain to them, that you got to explain to the community staff how it's going to make their life easier. Nobody wants to make a community manager's life harder. Like that is the last thing that anybody wants to do, and they've got a tremendous amount on their plate. So you've really got to get all those stakeholders involved, and you've got to make sure that you're solving for real world problems, right? And not chasing the next shiny thing. Like I have people come to me and they're like, oh, I talked to so and so and they've got biometric readers, and I'm like, and so that's fancy, but like, what are you solving for there, right? Are you going to make the community manager's life easier? Are you going to improve your tenant experience? And if you're not going to do either of those things, then that's not a good solution.
Yeah, that is great advice. Lizeth here on the call is asking, is there a certain size of the portfolio that is worth using a tech partner for?
I honestly, we're working with, like I'm working with a small developer right now, out of Dallas that has 5 properties. Like, I mean, because unlike, and like I said, like, and this is what I heard last week. I think I said this already, but like, the smaller operators, like the couple I was talking to out of Nashville last week, they had just a handful of properties. It was not big, and they were putting in point solutions from actually firms I'd never heard of before, and they weren't meeting their goals. So, like, I mean, I don't think there is too small, and we have done you know, we've done single properties before. There's a lot out there. You're competing against, the building across the street, the building down the road. And, so I think that, I think we finally kind of reached a point and I don't say this across the board, because of course there are properties where it just is, you don't need smart tech. That's going to happen. But I think in general, and I was just talking to somebody with a very large multifamily real estate trade organization yesterday, and she's like, there's this shift we're seeing towards people, they know they need tech now. She's like, that's no longer an issue. But she's like, they are struggling to find the right tech, and they're struggling to find the value. And so one of the things, I've got a white paper coming out at the end of the month. I highly recommend everybody read it. One of the things that I struggled with when I was at Graystar was that I had so many tech providers coming to me and saying that my ROI was going to come from a $30 a month tech amenity fee. And I'm like, okay, that's great. I'll take your $30, but like, what else? Right? Like, what else are you doing for me?
Yeah, absolutely. The value has to be there. And, Niam here on the call also had a really good follow-up question to that. He asked, what's the estimated cost for smart tech? What do you suggest would be the best smart tech for your bucks? So, sort of like, I guess what's a good way to get started?
I'm going to give you an answer you're not going to like, but I mean, it really does. The best smart tech, like I got asked this on a panel a couple of weeks ago. Hey, what's the perfect smart tech package? I'm like, there's not one. That's part of why I'm here, right? There's not a one size fits all. So it really depends on what you're trying to enable, what is perfect for that property or that portfolio. I'm sorry, read me the second part of that question again. Oh, how much should it
Yeah.
cost?
Yeah, the
Again,
cost.
depends.
Hmm.
Again, depends. And like that's why like I have solutions in place where that meet different budgets. Because like there are some solutions out there in the marketplace that are fantastic and I love them. And they, if I mention the names, you would know them. They've got tremendous market share, but they know their place in the market. And so it's not a solution unless you're, it's a class A plus solution. And if you've got a
Hmm.
class B property, but you need access controls, that's not what I'm going to recommend to you. Right. I've
Yeah.
got other solutions. But like the thing is, like, I think in terms of like, thinking about this year, there's a lot of concern around risk management. Insurance costs are through the roof.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of concern as part of that. Ancillary to that is, securing the buildings at Graystar. The head of conventional owned assets, who has since left, came to me and said, we're securing all for the owned assets. We're securing all the buildings next year. Bring me a solution. And that's all I'm doing. But I want to make sure, he's like, my idea is that that's 2024 and I want all 236 done. He's like, but in 2025, when we go into budget season in 2024, I want to talk about which ones we're going to upgrade to unit, smart unit locks or smart thermostats, or, he wanted a solution he can grow with. And that's what I took him.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring up the security part because that does go hand in hand with the smart locks and smart access control as well, with the cameras and all of that. And I
Mm-hmm.
keep seeing more and more lawsuits that are coming up against landlords that aren't
Yep.
really putting out the right security protocols, even small ones that are being targeted for hundreds of thousands of dollars if someone has been there. I saw a woman that was stabbed by her
Yep.
ex-boyfriend, someone else who was murdered on the property, shot. And, the families are going after the apartment owner saying, hey, you didn't have cameras. And if you didn't have lights, you didn't have the locks that were, maybe preventative for this, or locks on the gate where people enter. So it seems like you're seeing that sort of now become a concern for some of the big players. Is this something that you're seeing just across the board?
Yeah. I mean, and it's honestly, when I first was talking with Scott and Bill last November, I said, we're going to lead with access controls this year. I mean, I'm like, it's just, it is, there are a lot. I mean, I don't know how many lawsuits there were against Graystar for that kind of thing. I'm sure quite a few, but like, but yeah, it is a huge problem. And so, and, frankly, like, an access control solution, even one that, can grow with you. So not just access controls, but like one that can grow with you. Like there are some inexpensive, very good solutions in the marketplace right now. And we work with the ones that I've used before and have a good solution. And so like it's not a huge expense to put in access controls unless you're talking like garden style and you've got like 50 doors and maybe then your cost is creeping up, that can be expensive. But it's definitely something to look at because the lawsuits, we're a litigious country, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think also it goes back to what you said about what renters want too, because renters also want to feel safe and they also want to feel like they have an ease of access to their home. They can give permission to certain people, right? There's a
What
record of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And it's just I think that's where they're at. I think apartments.com said 89% of the renters they polled, I think it was a few months ago, said that's one of their top priorities.
Yeah. I mean, I was talking to somebody about this yesterday and they were like, they're thinking like single woman, you want
Oh yeah.
access controls. And then, but the smartest thing that I ever heard somebody say about access controls was a few years ago. I was at a show, and somebody who I actually ended up becoming very good friends with. I kind of wandered in and to a panel, and he was saying, he's like, the thing about access controls is there is much about keeping the wrong people out as getting the right people in. So like I have actually visited some maybe not luxury, but like high-end buildings where in order to get a guest in the building, somebody had to come down the elevator and let them in. And like, I don't know about the rest of you on this call, but I got a small Uber Eats addiction. I'm on Amazon. I live in a house now, but I have lived in an apartment fairly recently, and like that's a huge deal for tenants. How do I get my delivery to my door? How do I make sure my package isn't stolen? How do I get my dog walker in? That's like things like that, like I mean, you have to have unit locks, if you're talking about dog walkers, but like just that perimeter access, getting the right people into the building is something that tenants 100% want.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to go back to what we were talking about with that poll question we started with. Do you feel you're getting a good value from your smart tech investment? We had a few people say yes, but a lot of them said that they don't use any smart tech yet. And I feel like notoriously, right, our multifamily and rental industry has really been a little behind on tech.
Yeah.
And there are definitely some feelings that landlords get about it. What do you think is really, preventing some of us from making that move?
Well, I think part of the problem is that you have a lot of suppliers in tech suppliers in the marketplace. One, that are not paying attention to middle market, which is a problem. But two, are coming in and they'll do a couple of things. Like I have actually reviewed tons of sales decks for suppliers and changed them because they come in with some message, a whole bunch of tech. Nobody cares. Like if nobody in real estate's gonna, if you feel like if you're like CTO, maybe, but like they're not coming in and talking in real estate terms. So they make it very hard for an asset manager or an owner operator to say yes because they're not explaining the value. And so like one of the things that we're doing, um, if anybody's going to brave the big show next month, um, is we've partnered with a company called PropTech IQ, and they have 5 years worth of data on the value of smart tech, like with numbers. So we can put in, and it's in all of our proposals, we can put in what tech we're putting in, how much it costs, and they will deliver you within seconds. There's a report that says, okay, if you're going to spend $40,000 on access controls, here are the cost efficiencies you're going to get. Here are, don't have to do key management anymore. Huge. If you're doing access controls and unit locks, like key management is a nightmare.
Gone. Yeah.
And so like, here's where you're going to see operational efficiencies, and there are actual numbers in there. And here's where your ROI is going to come from. And it's not going to be a $30 a month tech amenity fee. That's in there. But like actually say, the whole idea here is actually showing with data what the value of the potential value of smart home is, or managed Wi-Fi or bulk Wi-Fi or whatever technology you need to solve for your issues. Like let's talk about getting the value out of it, what the value is, and then how we help you get the value out of it. Because like I had at Greystar, the guy who used to be CTO went to stay at an apartment building near headquarters. And that was a Greystar, I believe, owned and managed property. And it had a whole bunch of tech in it, and nobody was using it.
Oh my gosh.
And he called me and he's like, well, that was a whole waste. That was a waste of $500,000. And I'm like, yeah, it was. So like, it's really, and there are tools coming out. And I actually was just on the phone with somebody yesterday who's got an amazing AI driven tool. I mean, there are tools coming out that are, actually delivering actionable insights off all this data you're gathering. They're helping you find and maintain the value of the technology you're deploying without overtaxing your property staff. So
Absolutely.
there,
Yeah. I think it's important to note too that you should be doing this process regardless of how big that operation is. So whether it's the half a
Yeah,
million dollar investment on Graystar or, just adding something simple like a
yeah.
smart thermostat to
But
one rental unit, that still should be part
yeah,
of your
it's
process. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, one thermostat.
No, maybe not a thermostat. That might
No,
be a
maybe not a
stretch.
thermostat, but like
You
no,
should
but
get the
like again,
thermostat.
but again, like what we see over and over again. I mean, I can't tell you how many clients at Graystar did it. Include things like new developer, like somebody doing a new dev, sourcing the smart locks, and then coming to
Mhm.
me and going, "Oh, we also want smart home." What lock did you source? Yeah, I can't get you smart home. Nobody integrates that lock. Or like the couple I was talking to last week, the DIY'd a bunch of point solutions. There was no integration. So they were dealing with like a million different apps. And I'm like, they're just you said earlier, it's like consultative approach here. Like, I'll talk to you. Like, you can call me and I won't try. If you just want to talk to me, you can absolutely call me and I'll put 30 minutes on the calendar with you and we can talk through it. And, maybe this year you want to do something, maybe you're looking at next year, but like, let's, start the conversation at least, I think, because, um, you got to have that long-term plan, right? And you got to really, I'll have that 30-minute conversation. You go back to your teams and you go, okay, I had this conversation. What are your pain points?
Right.
Like, am I, talk to the community managers, what actually can I help you solve for? And then come back to me and we'll talk it through.
I think that's great, guys. You heard it. Free time with Cris. I
Yeah.
hope you don't regret it, but
No, no,
I I
I
think it's really helpful because you're not trying to push a specific product, I think that's kind of an issue maybe some of you on the call have also felt before is you see a solution, you think it might be a good fit, but then you don't know if the person you're talking to is just trying to sell it to you because that's the only thing they
exactly.
sell. You don't I mean, you have access to so many different brands. You're really like gosh, I think of it in compared to if any of you used our insurance partner, they're a broker, right? They're not trying to push you on a certain insurance carrier. It's like the same thing, right? You're
Yeah.
not pushing a certain brand. You're really just trying to find what's the best solution. There's cheap, there's expensive. Let's find where you land and where it's worth it for you and your rentals specifically, so that you're making the best technology decision, right?
Yeah. It's not, this is not exclusive to middle market. I mean, I don't want anybody on this call to think that, oh, well, I'm not Graystar or I'm not so and so. So, you know, um, I don't know how to fix, I can't fix this because like even like we were working again, I won't mention a name, but a very, very large multifamily owner a couple of years ago at Graystar. And they came to us and they had a technology team. And we were helping them project manage and bless Graystar, they were doing it for free. I don't know why, but was hours on the phone about this. And like I really like their technology team, very smart people, but honestly, they chose a solution. They were trying to do a portfolio wide decision. They weren't looking at garden style versus mid rise versus high rise. They wanted one solution and they chose a solution that does not work in garden style. And
Mm.
we went through fits with them and it went on for months until they finally realized they'd made a mistake. But like, you gotta like, you gotta understand, what you've got to understand kind of the nuances of the properties.
Absolutely. And I think, one thing I do want to switch gears to, because this is a question we've gotten quite a bit about EV charging, right? So we know California, for example, is
Yep.
saying no more sales of gas cars coming up soon. So this is going to be definitely a reality for California. I think California is usually the testing ground for these kind of things. We've seen this now popping up in other states as well. So this is going to be our new reality, maybe not immediately tomorrow, but I mean, within the next few years, right? So Sam here was asking, how does electric vehicle charging work? What's it cost? Does it affect my property insurance?
And those are, yeah, electric and electric vehicle EV charging, I will not claim to be an expert on. But you are correct that there's like a hockey stick curve coming on demand for EV chargers. Tesla just 2 weeks ago shut down their entire charging division. Tesla is no longer doing chargers.
Wow.
FreeWire, who is a manufacturer of EV charging, shut down the same week. I have a strategic partner who we'll talk to also we'll talk to you, just talk through the issues with you. He like I talk to him and I'm like, because I think I know EV charging, and then I talk to this guy and I'm like, oh no, there's so many nuances. But like I can put you, if you Alexander, if you want to put them in touch with me, I am
Sure.
happy to put them in touch with somebody that can really dig into that with them. It is all about, I mean, again, with EV charging, it's about finding the right partner. Because you want somebody that not only is going to like do things like find the rebates, and I have a couple suggestions on that. You want to find, a huge problem with EV charging is the connectivity. And so what happens with chargers is you put them in and the connectivity goes down all the time. It's a huge problem. And there
Mm,
are solutions out there for that.
that's a
Um,
good point. Yeah,
yeah, it's
definitely need to look into that before you go all
yeah,
in,
and it is a, you need somebody who's going to be honest with you
Mm.
and has done a bunch of them on the planning. So I mean, the guidance that I always give is, if you're going to put in EG charging, put in more infrastructure. You're already paying to like rip up the parking lot and put in a transformer. So if you say are, if you're doing that, you want to like put in as much infrastructure now, and then maybe only put in two chargers. But you know that 2 years from now or a year from now, you're going to need two more. And a year after that, you're going to need two more. And you don't want to have to go back over and over again. You got to spend your money smart when you're doing EV charging. Yeah, there is I mean, I'll tell you a great story. We spent like just hours upon hours of research on EV charging. That was not my team, but yeah, no, there is a lot of demand for EV charging, especially in the California market, because you kind of have to. And then in other markets, just because, you've got to, as you think about like the tenants, they're coming out of student housing. Hopefully you're getting them into conventional. Hopefully you're keeping them. But like this generation, as they move into apartments, the like Gen Z, like their expectations for things like EV chargers and technology, because they've just lived in student housing that has smart access controls, that has smart unit locks, that has managed Wi-Fi. Like they're not waiting for a truck roll to turn on their Wi-Fi. They want to walk into their apartment, log into an app, and the Wi-Fi is on immediately. So like but back to the EV charging question, very complex. And I do recommend honestly talking with somebody who really, because there's a tremendous amount of detail that goes into that, and happy to put you in touch with somebody.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, I put in the chat, if you want to look over at the chat, I put a link over to SKBM's contact page. If you fill that out, you will get in touch with Cris. And so that will help you all to get started on that process. Sam would highly recommend that if you are considering the EV charging. And I will also add on to this, guys, that rebates, they're not forever. Okay. So you want to take advantage of them now, because ultimately where this is heading is that this is just going to be how it is, and they're not going to give you rebates for that later. So
Yeah.
they're giving rebates now because they want to encourage and incentivize property owners to get started with it. So, I mean, if you can really get it done now and save, or practically even get it virtually free in some cases, you might as well do it now rather than wait, and then you're not going to get a rebate later.
Well,
And
and I think that's true of smart tech in general. Is like, I'm not telling you that you need to keep up with the Joneses and put in turnkey smart home today, but like the fact is that it's going to become table stakes, right? And so you need to start at least thinking about it now and making decisions that you know will keep you competitive in the marketplace, will help you retain tenants, will help you, perhaps reduce property staff. I mean, Greystar's affordable housing is turnkey smart home and managed Wi-Fi. And that's because those properties are essentially unstaffed and they drive 100 leases a month off of self-guided tours.
That's insane. Well, I think it really does make sense to focus on something. So it seems like, just to summarize, SKBM is different because they're not just necessarily selling you one or two or three products, but rather solutions that have many different options, many different products,
Yeah.
right? So it seems like, that's kind of
Well,
the takeaway here. Do you have anything to add to that,
yeah,
Cris?
no, the other thing is like because we are a licensed GC and we've installed over 450,000 units of smart home in multifamily and single family rentals. And I mean, we come from a construction background. We worked for Disney. We and all our, like I said earlier, all our crews have been with us. Like that's like, I was at a developer show a couple of weeks ago and I started talking about that in a boardroom session, and two of the guys raised their hand. I'm like, that's our pain point. Like we can't get the install. Like the installs are horrifying. Like they're it's just horrible. It's a horrible
Hmm.
experience. And I was talking to somebody the other day and they're like, I bought smart home 5 months ago and they can't find me somebody to come install it. And so, like, that's, I think, one of the benefits of working with SKBM is it is like a turnkey experience. We're gonna design a solution for you, and then we're gonna make sure that install process, I won't say flawless because everybody makes mistakes, and my COO is like, stop saying that. But but I mean, our QA QC process is truly amazing. I mean, so like guys take photos before, after they install a thermostat, for instance. We have somebody at headquarters sitting there looking at a screen, looking at those photos, going, take another photo with a level on it.
I love that. Okay, so very detailed, hands-on approach to the installation, which is actually a good point, right? So a lot of these companies, they sell you this awesome product, you buy it, and then, what else am I supposed to do, right? I need installs, I need
Yeah,
maintenance, I need, more than just the product itself, right? Although it might
yeah,
be great, it doesn't run itself and it doesn't install itself usually. So it
yeah,
certainly is something that we should all consider when we're looking at installing this. And I mean, it's really nice to have somebody. So I think here we have Niam asking if there's a link to sign up for the Smart Tech. Um, I think the best way is just the contact page. Would that be right, Cris?
yeah. Just go through the contact page. I
Yeah,
mean, Alexandra, I don't know how you do this. I mean, you can share my email address. I don't mind.
of course. Well, we will be sharing your email tomorrow in the follow-up email. So per
Okay.
usual, if y'all haven't noticed, we are recording it and we are going to be sending you the recording as well as the email for Cris, the website, the contact page, so you can get in touch if you do want to move forward. And also, you all are doing a webinar, which is going to be a lot more detailed and precise on these different solutions. And so you'll also be getting an invite for that if you're on for this. We're doing that, I think, next month. So definitely, if this topic is interesting to you and you want to get into the nitty gritty, like PowerPoint slide stuff, we will be doing that as well. So, and Byron just asked if there's a recording. Yes, so we are recording it. We're sending that over to you tomorrow. And also, we're still open to take questions. We don't really have a hard stop. If you guys have any other questions, we can put that in there. I know some of you asked a few questions in advance to this, and I want to bring up one or two of these that I thought were pretty interesting. So one question was, can tech be started with just one or a few units and then expanded into the rest of the property? Is that an approach that you would suggest?
It can be done. Yes. And I understand like wanting to like pilot the solution. I the I'm not saying that every supplier is going to do that, but like if that's what you want to do, yes, I can absolutely help you find somebody that's going to do that. Or, it's I'll tell you the problem if you're doing like one or two units and then you say, okay, I'm going to do the entire property, that's one thing. But if you're doing one or two units and then you want to do another one or two units and then another one or two units, the problem is your install cost is going to go through the roof. So because we have to send a crew every time. So I do think that to get that comfort level with what you're spending on the technology, that the prop tech IQ report is, I think, going to help a lot of people understand and maybe get them over the let's try to. But yeah, absolutely. I'm more than willing to talk to you about that. I've got the people that we work with, we have true partnerships with these people, and they understand that sometimes that you got to see it to believe it. And I will say also, like, if you want to see the locks or anything like that, join us next month. You know where I'm going to be. But like, you want to see some of the equipment, stop by. And like that show, the floor is overwhelming. Come see us 270 booth 277 first.
Okay.
And and you can look at our stuff and then say, oh, you know what? I want to go to that booth. Like, okay, I see one of your suppliers here. This is the kind of thing I want to learn more about this one. So you can kind of like map your show a little bit if you're talking about prop tech by starting out with us.
Yeah, and what Cris is talking about is the NAA show, which is coming up. They are going to be there. So if any of you are also going to be at the NAA show, that's the National Apartment Association, I'll put that in the follow-up as well, Cris. That's a good idea, what booth you'll be in so that they can go visit the booth if you want to meet Cris in person, or if you want to, like you said, see these products in person, which is I think really,
And
something you don't really
honestly,
get to do anymore. Everything's online,
yeah,
so it's nice to be there in person.
yeah, and like it's unfortunate this year I had to allocate the budget on shows, and so I'm not doing that many regional shows this year. But if you all on this call have a show that you're like, honestly, we'd love to see you at this one. I'm happy to look at that too. Like, and I'm trying to maintain status on American this year. So
It seems like you're already there, Cris. At this rate, you're like
yeah, no,
platinum.
well, yeah, I'll maybe up my status next year. But yeah, I mean, yeah, happy, like I said, we want to be good partners. That's our whole goal.
Good, good. Well, I'll stick with one more question here because I thought this was interesting as well. Someone said, my rental homes are in the sticks of Northwest Montana. Any ideas?
Ha. So do you have squatters? I'm guessing in the middle of Montana you don't. Because I like huge problem elsewhere. Ah,
They have cow
I love
squatters.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like, so you've got somewhere in the middle of the sticks, you really, you got to be able to manage it, remotely. And so, yeah, I do think I have some ideas around that. And I think also, like, when you're talking about unfortunately, I've never been to Montana, but like I've heard about it. And I think you've got like especially in the winter, a rather severe climate. And so, like, I think being able to monitor things like open doors thermostats. You got somebody that goes out of town and they forgot to turn their thermostat on, and so you're gonna have your pipes freeze, for instance. Um, like things like that. I do think there are some. We do a lot of SFR. Lot.
Single family rentals. Yeah,
Single
yeah.
family rental. Yeah.
Yeah, I hope you all weren't thrown off by the title, but yes, it's all kinds of rentals. And really, I think that's really important that you brought that up because SKBM does have that coverage nationally. And so even if you are in the sticks,
Yeah, we
there's a
have done
solution.
we have legitimately done projects in Montana. Like,
Amazing. I love
yeah,
Montana personally. I
yeah,
have been there. I have a friend that moved there to get away from the LA chaos, and it is
that is getting away from it.
beautiful. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, it's gorgeous. Well, We'll leave it at that. So let me go ahead and send everyone an email after this with all that good info. Please look at your junk or spam as well, just in case it lands there for some reason. But I'll be in touch with all of this great information and the NAA booth number if you're going to be there.
Oh, and
And
also, if I don't
yeah,
know if anybody's going, but we're going to be at IMN Single Family Rental in Miami,
okay.
in Miami next week.
Okay.
We're not exhibiting, but me, our CEO, and our COO, Scott and Bill, will be with
Oh,
me.
I love that. Okay. All right. We'll put that in there too. So if you want to connect with Cris at any of those events in person or just, have a call with Cris, this is your opportunity. I highly encourage you to do it. I know we've talked about a lot of smart tech on our webinars, different providers, but at the end of the day, having a consultant, which you pretty much have here for free, is going to be your way to go to decide which route to take, especially if you feel like kind of overwhelmed or you just don't want to make that huge investment and then find out later that maybe you didn't need to, or you could have gone with a solution that was maybe better. Cris has seen it all. Okay. So we're going to point you there. And I hope that you all learned something new today. Cris, thank you so much for sharing all of your knowledge and expertise. This was so helpful.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I really, really appreciate it. I was very excited for this today. So,
Good. Well, we'll be seeing more of you, Cris, and I hope you all will stick around for the next webinar we do with SKBM, and we will be in touch. So, everyone, I hope you have a wonderful day. Take care.
happy hump day. Thank
Yes.
you.
Happy.
Bye.
Bye.